Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming. With me is...
Yo, what's up, old man fam? Philbilly330 here, back again once again on a Borderlands state of play.
And anybody who listened to the review this week will know that it had to hurt Phil to not do the full amble. I had to tell him prehand. I was like, "You got to be concise with your intro," and he was like, "Okay," but I felt him just like rage behind the mic. But yes, we are back with another state of play. This is June state of play. Obviously, we like to do these a little bit earlier in the month, but we put it off because, the world's an apocalypse right now. And because of that, Borderlands 3 pushed back their Guardian Takedown DLC. And we felt like we really needed to cover the Guardian Takedown DLC in this state of play, so we held off a week as well. So with that said, that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about all things Borderlands. We're going to talk about the state of Borderlands right now as it stands, what we like, what we don't like, what we don't like, what we don't like, and then maybe what we're hoping gets better. I know that probably some people out there are like, here we go, another bitch fest. And you would not be wrong. We are not super happy, but I think that the internet is with us on that one.
Yeah, I would have to agree.
So let's get right into it, Philbilly. Guardian Takedown a Guardian Breach. In my opinion, one of the worst things they've put out so far post-launch. What are your thoughts, my friend?
Unfortunately, it pains me to say I am in agreement with you because yet again, Gearbox has put out content in a broken, busted state. The takedown is challenging in all the wrong ways, in my opinion. And it wasn't exactly enjoyable for me. It felt more like a chore to try to get through it than the fun game that I have loved forever,
Right. Yeah, I touched on it in my review. I went in to try and play it for the review. One of the reasons you reviewed it was because I could not get through the first room with a level 57 character. And not only could I not get through it like, oh, this is really challenging, fun. I mean, it was frustrating. Like, I did not want to play anymore. That's how irritated I was with it. Right off the bat. I mean, I mentioned it in the cons. Flying enemies are bad. It's a universal Borderlands thing, but right off the bat, we meet 7 of them that are armored, and I'm just thinking, okay, this is going to be a shit show. Like, no matter how far I get into this, it's going to be a shit show. If the first thing that we're up against is the most irritating thing to fight in the game, like, it's not going to be fun. The other thing I definitely want to talk about a little bit more. You pointed it out in the review, not to keep plugging that, but you pointed it out in the review. There's no Borderlands flair here because you're fighting the Guardians the whole time. It's just Tannis, who I find funny, but that's it. It's just her spouting stuff, and she doesn't even have funny lines. All she can do is just say scientific stuff because there's nothing to play off,
Yeah. Yep.
There's just nothing to it. With the exception of it being incredibly long for no apparent reason, and incredibly broken, which is shameful. And I don't want to take up all the time. I know you want to get in some bitches here too, but look, we are complete supporters of Black Lives Matter, and I completely understand and respect taking off a week for that situation. Still, they were all working during that week. They had a whole nother week to work on this, and it is one of the most broken pieces of content we have ever seen fresh out the gate. The absolute bugs. Twitter was afire with people getting crashed out on the last boss, and the last boss, this is the longest raid they have, so that's an hour and 20 minutes. To crash out on the last boss is... God, I don't know if I'd ever play Borderlands 3 again if that happened to me.
Yeah. It'd be awful.
Yeah, it's just shameful, the situation that the like they should have just taken off. You know what I mean? Just They should have just waited. They should have just waited.
Yeah, they should have just made sure this was right
Yeah.
and then dropped it. Who cares if it would have came out at the same time as DLC 3? Like,
Right.
you might have had some people, you know, a little upset because they didn't have content for an extra 2 weeks. But to be honest, I don't even know if you would have, because so many people had stepped away from the game
Right.
that I don't think anyone even cared. But now you pulled back some people to try to play the raid, and they're, if I had to guess, even more pissed than they ever were now, because they came back with high hopes and found out it's a mess. So are they going to come back next time? Like,
Yep.
you keep alienating your loyal fan base. You're already probably lost most of the casuals.
Well, and that's what blows my mind is it's not even like they're alienating one for the other. They're alienating everybody. Like they're doing things. It's like they take a bunch of information that people say to them and they just don't listen to any of it. In some cases, it almost seems like they're doing the opposite as a troll. Like, it's crazy. Like, I know I keep going back to the flying creatures, but to see 7 armored flying creatures right off the bat, it's like, are you guys pranking us? Like,
Yeah.
are you, what is this? You know, I don't know. I will agree with you on a positive side. The platforming stuff looked interesting, and it was a different shot at things, which is nice.
Yep. And I did notice that the picking people up from Fight for Your Life did actually feel better when I was
good.
playing with Filthy Phil. I do think they might have actually fixed that a little bit. It did feel like you didn't have to be standing on top of them. You know what I mean? Like, you could run away without it just ending your revive.
Yeah.
So that was cool. But yeah, so you mind if I talk about how the bullet spongy thing and what I've heard through some research?
Yeah, go for it.
So this raid, with being long, as Zach said, like I've seen people take 2 hours with a group of 4 to get through it, and these guys are no scrubs. You know, these are professional YouTubers who play Borderlands 3. And these enemies, even with the best guns and builds, like the builds me and Filthy Phil went through with, I know they're mine and I'm biased, but they're good builds. Like, I can go into the Mallow on Black Site and I can take either of those builds and slam through that whole thing solo on True Vault Hunter, or on True Takedown, in like 10, 11 minutes. So they're good builds. And in this raid, everything is just bullet sponges. And I was like upset with this, and I couldn't figure out. I'm starting to doubt, like, what did they nerf all these guns that I had that were good, or are my builds junk now? So I started doing some research, and I actually found 2 different things. One group said that somehow this content got locked to 8-player difficulty, which I don't even, I'm not a game developer, obviously. Yeah, but how does that even happen when you can't play the game with 8 people? and another thing I read actually said like 14-player difficulty, which, again, what the hell? But like, I almost believe it, because I shouldn't be able to take, you know, some of the best guns in the game and just stand there and pour 5-6 mags into a crit spot on just a generic ass enemy and not kill it. There's actually a point if you go back and you watch our first attempt at the takedown, I end up dying in like, I think the 3rd room or 4th room. And Filthy Phil is left. I died because I ran out of ammo, because they're all bullet sponges, and I got cornered. I died. He couldn't get to me fast enough to pick me up. Well, he stays alive for like another 10 minutes. And when I went down, there were only 5 Guardians left in that room that he needed to finish off. He couldn't kill 5 Guardians in like 15 minutes. So what ended up happening after we ended that the video, the capture, what ended up happening, he was actually trying to take out those 5 enemies for so long, I believe it's 15 minutes is how the game works, that the enemies we had already killed began respawning in. So it went from like 5 guardians left to like the original 25 guardians that we had already killed most of.
And that's just like that's insane.
Yeah, that's wrong. Like that has nothing. We're both good players, you know. It's not like we don't know what we're doing. We know how to kill a guardian. So there's definitely something wrong there, and it leaves the impression that Gearbox just dropped this and didn't even play test it. And I've heard the argument, well, they did play test it because they had some other like streamers get early access to play test it. And supposedly, again, I'm not a game developer, I don't understand this, but supposedly it worked good in their play testing. But when they actually took that chunk that they had early access play tested and plugged it into Borderlands 3, the game, like as a whole, that everything got messed up.
Right.
But shouldn't you as a company account for that, or know that's a possibility, and play test it in the form that it's actually going to be released to the consumer, rather than the form of, you know, just I don't even know what you would call that.
I mean, you're 100% right. There wasn't enough playtesting done on this. It was released. It was half baked at best. And I think the Borderlands community as a whole is getting sick of it's all right, we'll patch it in post. And especially from a game that's not even a games as service. Like you've said right now, you're not a live service game. So why not just delay the stuff? You know what I mean? Like you're not winning anybody over by releasing broken stuff every time you release stuff. And you know, we got to move on just a little bit, but this kind of like swims right into what I wanted to talk about next. And that is, anybody who's listened to this and the channel knows that while I do love Borderlands, I don't play it nearly as much as Philbilly does. I am more of a casual player. I can play through the content and then move on to something else. I don't like do a ton of grinding or whatnot. Granted, my characters are fine. I'm not saying they're not big enough to deal, but they're nothing compared to what Philbilly produces. That being said, I've been away for a while. I've come back recently because I wanted to level up a new character. I'm sick of playing Zane. I want to play Mose, and I want her leveled up so that I can do some Philbilly and stuff. And you know, the walking away and coming back has really hurt my opinions of this game. Like, there's stuff that I'm noticing now that I did not notice the first time around, or maybe I gave a pass because I was excited for stuff, but this game, or it's getting progressively buggier, which is another possibility, but this game's bugs are shameful. I can't count the number of times that like the textures don't load in properly on single player games, not even first player, not even 2-player games, single player games. Like I have to play for like 30 seconds with my gun looking like a blob. There's that. Every time I play, I've had frame rate drops, like huge frame rate drops that actually like freeze the frame for a couple of seconds, which is crazy to me that we're having that problem in like at this point in the game's development. And then the fact that they make you wait so long with the dancing claptrap that they had to put in a loading bar because so many people probably thought their game had crashed.
They did, yeah.
I mean, that's insane. How does this game take that long to load and run so crappily? You know?
Yeah, especially when like, I mean, the graphics are good, don't get me wrong, but they're not like lifelike graphics like some.
Right, it's
like,
cell shaded. Yeah, like
I've been playing Call of Duty, which is more like realism / graphics,
more realistic graphics.
I don't have any of those issues with
No.
that game.
No, none whatsoever. The fact that like you have to have that kind of a loading time and the kind of gig space that game needs is almost comparable to Modern Warfare, and it is so poorly optimized that that's my gaming experience. I'm really frustrated with the game, more frustrated than I think I've ever been, and I think it's because I took kind of that time off and came back to it. But like, it's just shameful. It's like they keep adding stuff and forgetting that they're like creating bugs. You know what I mean? Like, have you noticed any of the stuff that I'm talking about?
To an extent, I've noticed more of the menu lag and stuff, like where I will all of a sudden, like, say I'm scrolling down my weapons and then it's looking at a Maggie, right? And then the next one down is a shield. Well, it'll display the shield stats, but I'm still looking at a picture of the Maggie.
Right. I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen that one too. And like that was something that was at launch. How is that not fixed by now?
Yeah, I don't understand what's going on. That's like, I would hate to see, so they had this extra week to work on the takedown. I would hate to see what it looked like before that, if they would have launched it when they were originally supposed to. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, if you go on Bing right now, because I had to find, because I find the pictures for the thumbnails and stuff. I went on Bing to look for stock photos of the Guardian Takedown, searched Takedown at Guardian Breach. You know what the first thing that comes up is?
What's that?
A headline from a Forbes article that says, Takedown at Guardian Breach releases dead on arrival. That's literally what it says. Like,
oh, that's great for Borderlands.
Right. And that's the kind of stuff you get when you release broken, not good stuff. Like, it's just, I don't know. I just wanted to talk about the casual, because it's everything stands out to me so much more now. And I think it's because, like, I was playing very casually, like even more casually than normal. I would jump on every once in a while, but most of the time I was playing Monster Hunter or something else. And I really like got a point where I was like, I'm going to get that build done that I want to do for Moe's. And it just like is so glaring, just everything, all the load times and the loading screens for a game that doesn't even work properly.
Yeah.
I
also want to ask, so I was starting to think about Borderlands and like what is wrong with this game, because the drop rates are still stupid. Like, the bosses have 4 things in their loot pool with a 10% chance to drop, which we've talked about. You end up with like a 0.3% chance of getting what you're actually wanting. What do you think about anointments? Because I've started to think, and you guys please feel free to comment about, maybe I'm crazy, but like I feel like anointments on these guns in some ways has actually made farming like way worse in this game.
You know, I think you're segueing perfectly into our next little segment, which is what we always discuss when we have a lot of gripes, which is how to fix it. So that being said, you and I kind of had a mic discussion about anointments the other day, and I'm kind of I didn't think about it until you said it, and I'm not a huge stat guy when it comes to stuff like this, so I wasn't really thinking about it that way, but like I am 100% with you. Like, you have to mine certain anointments to get the right thing, and the thing that I really don't like about anointments personally, and I said this when we were talking the other day, is that they don't almost all the anointments, like not all of them, but a lot of the really good ones that are character class specific are reliant on, they don't help your action skill. They're almost even reliant on just using the action skill to proc the anointment, which how crappy is that? Like, that's another thing that I'm really upset with this game. Like, you get these cool things like a giant mech or like a pet skag, and like they become obsolete and are only used to make invisible numbers go up.
Yeah, you're not using the character's quote unquote superpower to do what it was designed to do. You're just using that superpower to proc something else.
Right. Right. I mean, my thought on anointments, I think if they're going to do anointments, I think the anointments should direct, like you said it too. You said like, well, I'll let you say it. How would you
Uh,
fix anointments?
so we
Yeah,
were
we
both
discussed this.
brainstorming,
Yeah.
and we were thinking like, what if anointments were essentially, for better lack of words, like secondary class mod effects. So that way, um, say you were running a fadeaway flag and you wanted to do more damage in fadeaway. So your anointment would be something that you would get that you could attach to a weapon to enhance your action skill, whether it be with Flak or Moses Iron Bear or Amara's Phase Grasp or
Right.
Zane's Digiclone, what have you. And then you had these raids. This is what I think would be cool. You had these long raids that are not 2 hours like this broken one, but like Malawan Takedown, where let's say anywhere from, if you're really good, 10 minutes to, if you're average, 30, 40 minutes. And that end boss was guaranteed to drop one anointment for the player character that you are fighting through as. So then you could guarantee that drop. You fought through, you take that one anointment, you plug it into this weapon or this shield or whatever, and it gives you reason to go back and do it again because you only plugged it into one weapon or one
Right.
shield. So now you want to get, you have 4 weapons, a shield, a class mod, blah blah blah. So you're going to have to go back through that raid to grind it out to get what you know want to plug it into next or whatever.
Or if you could just give one keyword to something, like you could just select right before the raid, like I want a legendary Torg. If I do all of this, I'll get at least one legendary Torg gun. Doesn't matter what, just I'm gonna get one. I would be so much more motivated to do these grinds if I was guaranteed I was going to get even just one thing over like these loot explosions of just garbage, just tons of
Mm-hmm.
colors that are nothing. And the anointment thing, I'm 100% with you. I think the anointments, like you get to this point where the scaling of the game makes your action skill useless. I think the anointments would be perfect to make the action skill useful, not by proccing invisible numbers, but by I have this weapon equipped. My Iron Bear does 50% more damage. That's that. Bam, your scaling is fixed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you use the anointments in that way,
Right.
rather than to subside your action skill to proc them.
Right. Like the anointments where it's like when your action skill ends, this gun does 50% more damage. Like I'm just waiting for my action skill to end then. And that's not fun. That's not fun at all.
Yep, that's why you end up with all those Moe's builds where it's literally jump in your Iron Bear, jump out of your Iron Bear to proc your anointment.
Right, right.
So you never actually used your action skill. You just uh you just wanted to get in and out of it so
Right.
that you could actually do some damage.
Right. I mean, as a guy who's working on a Moe's build all about being in the mech the whole time, it does make me very sad that at some point I know I'm not going to be able to be competitive just because the Iron Bear doesn't do enough damage.
Yeah, even with the buffs they've given, it's not like Mayhem 10 viable, really.
No, and I'll be able to run everything. I'll be able to run everything and fight everything, I'm sure, but I won't be able to do it Mayhem 10. I'll be able to do it like Mayhem 2 or 3, you know?
Yeah.
That'll be that. There's one other thing I wanted to add to this. We're running a little bit late. I shouldn't, but I also think that they should change the way they tie the Mayhem mode and the True Vault Hunter. We talked about this. When I was playing Moe's, I was like, oh, great idea. I'll level up my character by going through the DLC. There's 2 DLCs now, and I'm already at level 25. That should take me up to level 50. And I was really excited about that because the DLC writing is so much better. And even if it wasn't, I've already been through the main game repeatedly. I don't want to go through that content again where I've only been through the DLC once or twice, you know?
Yeah.
But I realized I won't be able to unlock Mayhem until I beat Tyrene. I won't be able to unlock True Vault Hunter till I beat Tyrene. Like, period. Like, I also will not be able to run the takedowns because they're post story game. Won't be able to do
Yeah.
proving grounds. Won't be able to do the circles of
Circle of
slaughter.
Slaughter.
Like, tie that to my level instead of tying that to the main base content. I'm sick of playing the base content. Let me just say at level 50 you can do all that stuff. You know? Why not?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand how that hurts anybody. That's the way that should be. And I think that would go a long way for me to play again, because if they did that, I would play more characters because I wouldn't get as bored with the content, you know?
Yeah.
All right.
And
I'm sorry.
oh, okay.
Go ahead. We're
Can I
running
throw
out of
one
time.
more thing
Go
real
for
quick?
it. Mhm.
So I don't want you guys to think that I'm like bitching when I talk about drop rates and stuff. I don't want you to think, oh, well, this guy just doesn't want to grind ever. No, that's not the case. And we talked about this off camera too, where not to compare it to another game, but so like we both play another game called Monster Hunter, which is a grindy game. But the difference is like, so if I know I need this part, I know I have to go fight this thing and break this part on this thing, and that way I will get this part that I need to
Right.
build this weapon. Or that's how it works in that game. But that's the problem is with Borderlands, you're just blind grinding. Like,
Well, and even more so, even when it's not like, even if it's not breaking apart, you know, if you go fight that monster, you'll get the parts eventually. So even when you don't get it the first time, you don't mind fighting him 4 times. With Borderlands, everything's random.
yeah, and even the ones with the dedicated drops,
It's like
I'm sure you
0.3.
guys know. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's such a low thing that you could farm that same boss for 15 hours and not get that thing you were looking for. So
Right.
yeah, at that point, no, I don't want to grind that. That's just, I don't have time.
Exactly. Okay, well, we need to move on. So, last thing, we want to end on a positive note. The DLC is coming. Man, now the name completely escapes me. Irritating. Dude, we get here. I think I'm so prepared, and then when we actually get here, I always got to look it up, and I can't be slick about it this time because I was in the middle of talking it. Oy, oy, oy. Okay. All right. It
It's
is Bounty
of
of
Blood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bounty of Blood. Okay, so the new DLC, the Bounty of Blood, is coming out, and I just want to say that looks like a lot of fun. I will say, with a big disclaimer of they haven't fixed enough stuff that, like, it's. I feel like we're going to be in the same situation as the last 2 DLCs, where the DLCs were really good, really well written, no real reason to go back to them, and all the other problems as to why you weren't playing Borderlands is there. Even though, like, you got to swim through that to get to the cool content in them, but nonetheless, the writing has been absolutely stellar on the DLCs. So I'm very much hoping we get more of the same with this.
Yeah, it sounds like we're losing faith.
Yeah, I got a real faith. I know this was supposed to be our positive, and we started off like right off the bat kind of negative about it. But
no, it does look cool. It looks like
does.
that steampunk vibe, like
Yeah.
steampunk mixed with the Old West.
Right.
Got to ride dinosaurs
Oh,
and shit.
I
New
can't wait to ride
vehicles.
dinosaurs. That is the thing I am most excited about, is the riding dinosaurs. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, the rest of the game, I'm sure it's gonna be good. Well, that's not true. There's one other thing I'm more excited about, and that is the return of Krieg. Right? He's returning in this. He was
Yep.
confirmed. Yes.
Yep.
I can't wait for Krieg to come back. I'm so excited for Krieg to come back. I just hope we don't have to kill him. So afraid that's going to be the plot.
They wouldn't do that. I pray to God they wouldn't do that. He's like my favorite character.
There's too many times we've said they won't do that, and they do that. So I'm putting nothing past them. Still, I'm very excited for this DLC. And our next state of play will probably focus on just that, because it'll be post that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it looks cool. I'm sure it will be good. I hope that there's something in it that gives us a reason to go back to it, with the exception of maybe a couple new guns. Supposedly they're going to introduce some class mods that, as we talked about earlier, with the action skills, that these class mods are supposed to make you able to build around your action skill, which would
Please,
be cool. It,
please.
I hate to say I'll believe it when I see it, but
Right.
hopefully that happens and it's good. Um,
Well,
the world looks cool, like
yeah.
it does.
Yeah, the design looks really good. I am very, very hopeful for those class mods. We talked about that, and we've talked about it a lot on this show, but I don't think we've leveled it to the point that like how much it is important to me that the action skill be important, and it is not important right now. It just isn't. It's not important. And 2 wasn't even like 2 had good action skills. Like, I don't understand how the action skill is one of the least important things in the game, but it just straight up is.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I really think it's because of how they've treated anointments in this game. That's
I
that's
agree.
that's the common denominator that
Right.
that did that.
Well, and I think they could do a better job of finding some way to late game scale some of these action skills. And if it's an item I got to collect, it's an item I got to collect. I'm all right with that, but let my Iron Bear be viable. Just let it be viable, regardless of anointments or anything. Give me the amount of damage to where I'm in Iron Bear, I can at least tangle with high level bosses, Uh, and do that for everybody. I'm not saying just Iron Bear. Like, it's not just Moe's. Everybody has that problem where their action skills just aren't there. And
Yep.
God, just I know that sounds negative, but it's kind of a positive hope for me. That's my big hope for this DLC, is that we get some class mods that allow us to build on action skills. Like that. That's the thing I want to see from this most of all, other than the riding dinosaurs.
Yeah, I agree. It looks cool. The only I'm hoping, I did see a couple like gameplay things where it looked like the world was a little empty,
Mm,
but that could just be because it's early, footage. So I'm hoping that that's not the case. Like it like was really cool scenery, but you just saw him like driving
mm,
through on the new vehicle, and
right.
there was like nothing going on. But
Yeah.
that could, like I said, that could have just been because it was very early
Right.
gameplay and things weren't plugged in and finished.
Right. Right. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed all the way on that. All the fingers and toes are crossed. All right.
Like some of the characters that they're introducing look like they'll be interesting too.
Yeah. Yeah. They look really cool. They look really cool. I'm very excited for the DLC. I really am. I'm actually more excited for even though Moxie's Heist was awesome, I was not excited for it. Like, it was kind of like I played it and I was like, that was way better than I thought it was going to be. And like the Hammerlock Wainwright one was really good. I'm not insulting it, but again, like, it just didn't like get my engine going.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
this one does. Like, this hits all the buttons of like classic Borderlands, like the kind of like Wild West shooty space thing and the riding dinosaurs. Like, it's really got me excited. So I'm really hoping they don't let us down on this one. But we got to wrap this up. We're at 33 minutes. So in closing, we hope this gets better. We love Borderlands 3. Our bitching is from a place of love for the content. We just want it to be better. Yeah, anything to plug there, Philbilly?
Check out, if you didn't get to see me and friend Filthy Phil going through part of the new takedown, check that out. As always, we have Borderlands 330, which is a lot of fun. That will not stop, regardless of what we feel that Gearbox is doing wrong. And yeah,
Playing it to the
just
end. To the end.
and just to reiterate what Zach said, like, we talk about this game off of camera more than you guys could imagine, especially because we see each other IRL. So we want this to be good. Our bitching comes from a place of hope, not of just
Yeah.
smashing a game into the ground, because
Yeah.
that's the last thing we want.
Yeah, it is. I'm going to do some extra plugs for Philbilly. This is basically the week of Philbilly. You can check out, he has a special where he takes on the Guardian Takedown for the first time with Filthy Phil. We've talked about it here, but that's already going to be up. That was posted on Sunday. He also helped me out with the review of the Takedown on Monday. So Philbilly has been pulling some OT this week. Thank you very much to you, Philbilly. And even more so, the day after this, Borderlands 330, it will be our season 3 finale.
Yep.
It's exciting. It's exciting. It all just kind of like aligned. We didn't actually plan it this way, but now I'm just calling it the week of Philbilly. So check out all those things. And, of course, check out everything else the channel has to offer. You can check us out on Facebook at OldManGamingDH, on Twitter at OldManGaming9. Please join our Discord. The link is in the description below. You can influence all of our shows as well as call us morons. And even if you're those weird trolls we keep getting, tell us about hentai sites. In any case, as long as you guys keep watching and listening in whatever form, we will keep making this, and we will see you guys for another State of Play next month, hopefully after the great Bounty of Blood makes Borderlands 3 everything we want it to be. See you guys later.
Like, comment, subscribe. Later.
Yeah, do that. Subscribe. Old Man Fam.